Have you noticed more mosquitoes around lately? Well, it is not just you. That buzzing sound is becoming way more common and, frankly, more dangerous all over the world. But the real reason why might not be what you think. See, this story, it doesn't start in our backyards. It starts in our shrinking forests. Okay, so let's just kick things off with a number that shows you the sheer scale of what we're dealing with. In 2024 alone, we saw 14.4 million reported cases of dengue. That is the highest number ever recorded. And get this, over 90% of those cases were right here in the Americas. This isn't just some abstract statistic, it's a full-blown global health crisis happening right now. So that begs the big question, right? Why is this happening? And why now? It's easy to point the finger at climate change, and yeah, that's definitely a piece of the puzzle. But the whole story, it's way more complicated. It's actually kind of a detective story. And believe it or not, the biggest clues are hidden in a mosquito's last meal. To find those clues, we're going to head down to the Atlantic forest in Brazil. See, scientists there are using some really cool forensic techniques to figure out exactly what, or maybe I should say who, these mosquitoes are biting. And what they're finding? Well, it's a huge wake-up call for all of us. First, you gotta understand the scene of the crime. The Atlantic forest used to be this massive, incredible rainforest, second only to the Amazon. But today, it's just a ghost of what it once was, shattered into these tiny little isolated patches. And this isn't just about losing some trees. It's about an entire ecosystem completely unraveling, forcing every single creature in it to adapt or just disappear. So how in the world do you figure out what a mosquito had for dinner? Well, it's this brilliant process called DNA barcoding. It's like CSI, but for insects. They capture female mosquitoes that have just fed, then they carefully extract the DNA from that blood meal. From there, they sequence a specific gene that acts like a unique barcode for every vertebrate. They just run that barcode against a database, and bingo, they know exactly which animal was bitten. And the results from this DNA analysis are honestly shocking. In these little broken pieces of forest, a whopping 75% of the blood meals they identified came from humans. Birds made up the other 25%, and everything else, rodents, dogs, amphibians, they barely even showed up. In an ecosystem that should be buzzing with wildlife, the mosquitoes are almost exclusively targeting us. Now here's the key thing to understand. This isn't really about mosquitoes suddenly preferring humans. As the study's co-author, Sergio Lisboa Machado, puts it, they're just opportunists. Think about it. Their usual animal hosts are gone, and humans are living right up against the edge of the forest. We've basically become the easiest, most convenient meal on the menu. Why would they waste a bunch of energy looking for a rare bird when there's a person right there? Okay, so we know what's happening. Now let's really dig into the why, because this whole shift is being driven by more than just convenience. There are these really powerful forces, both ecological and biological, that are pushing mosquitoes straight to us and making them a whole lot more dangerous in the process. This brings us to a really important ecological idea called the dilution effect. The theory is actually pretty simple. In a healthy, thriving forest with tons of different animals, mosquitoes have a huge menu to choose from. A lot of those animals are what you'd call dead ends for a virus. They don't get sick or pass it on. All that variety essentially dilutes the virus in the environment, making it way less likely to ever find its way to a human. Let's break down how this natural protection system works. So first, you have more non-human targets, which just mathematically lowers the chance a mosquito bites an infected animal and then bites you. Second, a healthy ecosystem has predators that keep the populations of major disease carriers, like some types of rodents, in check. But when we chop down the forest, we get rid of all those protective diluter species. And what's left behind? Well, it's us and the few animals that are really good at carrying and spreading disease. But the story gets even crazier. It turns out that from a mosquito's point of view, our blood might actually be, well, better, a premium choice. You have to remember, female mosquitoes don't bite for food like we think of it. They desperately need the protein and iron in blood to produce their eggs. And the science on this is pretty clear. Just look at the Aedes aegypti mosquito, the one that spreads horrible stuff like dengue and Zika. Studies show that when it feeds on human blood, it lays way more eggs and bigger, healthier ones too, compared to when it feeds on other animals, like rabbits or even pigeons. So you see what's happening here? Deforestation doesn't just force mosquitoes to bite us out of convenience. It might actually be creating this really dangerous feedback loop, a vicious cycle. They feed on us, the reproduction gets a boost, which leads to even more mosquitoes that are better adapted to finding and feeding on humans. And I have to stress, this is not just some isolated problem happening in the Atlantic forest. This whole pattern, mosquitoes adapting to us, combined with a warming planet, is allowing these dangerous, human-focused mosquitoes to just conquer new territories, expanding into places we never, ever thought they'd be. I mean, it's happening right here in the US. These invasive Aedes mosquitoes are pushing further and further into Northern California. And check this out. In Las Vegas, a city in the middle of a desert, their presence just exploded. They figured out how to thrive in the little artificial oases we build, like our irrigated lawns and storm drains. It's incredible and incredibly scary. Okay, so for ages, there was this piece of trivia you could always count on. Only 2 major landmasses on the entire planet had no native mosquitoes. We all know one of them is Antarctica, right? But do you know the other one? It was Iceland. Was. That's not true anymore. In late 2025, scientists confirmed that a mosquito species called Sulicida annulata had officially set up shop there. It's a cold-tolerant mosquito that probably hitched a ride on a freight ship. Its arrival is this blaring alarm bell, telling us that a warming planet is literally redrawing the map for every species, including the ones that make us sick. So the link between our vanishing forests and our rising disease risk, it's undeniable at this point. The huge question now is, what can we do about it? Can we actually reverse this trend, or have we gone too far? Well, thankfully, there is some hope. The very same scientists who uncovered this problem, they also believe the solution lies in fixing the root cause. Machado is clear on this. He says the shift to biting humans is a reversible process. If we can restore the forests and allow biodiversity to recover, we can bring back those other animals, put more options back on the menu, and reestablish that natural dilution effect. And this isn't just some pie-in-the-sky idea. People are taking concrete actions that are already working. We're talking about things like replanting forest corridors to reconnect habitats, creating private reserves like Rey Gua, where this study was actually done, and enacting tough new laws. Look at Paraguay. Their zero deforestation laws have cut forest loss by over 80%. It proves that when there's a will, there's a way to protect these vital ecosystems. So, the next time you hear that high-pitched buzz in your ear, I want you to think of it as something more than just an annoying pest. Think of it as a tiny messenger, delivering a critical warning from a planet that's changing fast. It's telling us loud and clear that the health of our forests and our own health are completely, totally connected. The only question left is, are we listening?